everybody. Sorry, I was just posting my links in the Discord channels. Let me switch my screen. There we go. Hi, everybody. What do we have in chat today? We have Stephen Booth. Hello, Stephen Booth. We have Matt, who I know in real life. Hello, Matt. Matt says, popping in for a few. How are you? How are you doing? And Gareth is in the chat. Hello, Gareth. And Stephen Booth is answering my announcement question. Never played the game. Did see the spin-off film, though. Did you see Spirits Within, or did you see the Final Fantasy VII one? Or did you see Kingsglaive? There's 3 of them. You probably don't know. Just curious. And then we have Sandra in the chat. Hello, Sandra. Sandra says, hello, everyone. Welcome to my stream. How are you doing? Dave says we don't speak of Spirits Within. I've actually never seen that one, believe it or not. Anyhow, let me switch screens. So today we're going to be working on, ooh, I didn't send myself the pictures. Please hold 1 moment before I finish that train of thought. I meant to send myself reference pictures and then just didn't download them. Okay, take 2. Anyhow, we're going to be continuing working on this sketch for a paper craft that I'm going to do. It doesn't look like a whole lot now, but we're going to clean it up. We're going to make it look great in Illustrator, and we're going to turn it into a giant vector piece that is then going to be cut out with my Cricut, and then I'm going to mount it on, I left it across the room today, a giant foam core board. It's going to be huge. It's going to be like 16 by 20, so it's going to be massive. Turn that up a little bit. I'm living in the dark today. Yesterday it was too bright, and today it's too dark. We just can't get a good lighting source in this apartment. So that's what we're going to be finishing up. We're going to finish up my base layout so I can start getting these pieces going in Illustrator. I will be working on this entirely on stream from start to finish. So from sketch to vector to putting it in the Cricut, cutting it out on the Cricut, and assembling it as I go. So, well, Biola is here. Hello, Biola. How are you doing today? Thanks for popping in. Matt says, I'm alright, just working on a wedding. My fiance has COVID. I tested negative, so just popping around the art community on Behance and Twitch. I am so sorry to hear that your fiance tested positive for COVID. I hope you guys are okay. Glad you tested negative, though. Stephen Booth says, the first one to come out, I think it was Spirits Within. It was confusing. Yes, I have heard that it was not great. And Bliss is here. Hello, Bliss. How are you doing? Bliss is another streamer here on Behance who just started a subscription. I believe Bliss was streaming earlier today. I was having my coffee and getting ready for my stream though, so I didn't happen to tune into your stream today. I apologize. Bliss says, yes, just finished my stream. Alright, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to continue. I have this all layered in parts, and I'm going to import all of this into Illustrator. I hope we will get that far today because we're basically just mirroring sides now instead of like trying to figure out stuff. Let me see really quick before we start. Please say hello to my wonderful pictures. There we go. That's all I needed was for those to download. Camera. Okay, so yesterday I promised that I would bring in my reference pictures. Actually, let's not do this way. Let's come back into here. Sorry, I always forget how to do this properly. There we go. Let's just have this float over. Or not. It said no. There we go. Oh, this is being difficult today. There we go. So we can just have a screen float over our screen that we currently have. That way I'm not taking up too much space. And then we can just scooch back in here. I think this is a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm doing versus yesterday. I had the reference on my desktop versus on the iPad, so like I was the only one who could see it because I didn't have a screen set up properly. Matt is saying we're all right, and she's doing all right. Each better, she's been getting better and better. Each day she's been getting better and better. Okay. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. My dad had COVID, my grandma had COVID, my little brother, my stepmom, my little sister, everyone has had COVID. I haven't had it yet that I know of. Sandra is saying nice cats. Yes, I have many pictures of my cats. Umacorn says, thanks for streaming, Bliss. You were off when I came back. Isn't that the struggle when you tune into a stream like at the last minute and you're like, ah, I missed it. And Matt is telling Bliss, awesome work. And Bliss is saying thank you. Yes, we have lots of fun creatives in here. Everybody in here does very, very good work, so be sure to check them out. Umacorn, speaking of which, is another streamer here on Behance. Both Gareth and Stephen Booth stream on occasion. Beulah, do you stream? I'm not sure. Just out of curiosity. Okay, so let's merge this layer down. We also learned yesterday that we can name layers in Fresco, which I was unaware of. Make sure we're still on the same brush. We are. Okay. So we're gonna start by coming through here. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can see like all of this is basically just a big like white cloth surrounding her head and her wings. So that should be super interesting to make out of paper. Easy way of drawing cloth is just doing how I just did and making these little like loops. And then this will be like the underneath of the cloth. You guys can see kind of like that. And then you can connect these lines. Stephen Booth says his sister had it before Christmas. I'm sorry about that, Stephen Booth. I hope she's feeling better now. And Umacorn says, you are so fast with the link, Sarah. I just click your names in the chat. Like, I just right-click your names, open it in a new tab, copy, and then paste, and then just close the tab. That's how I'm so fast. Matt says, thanks for reminding me I need to update my work on here. Behance is the place to be. I'm biased. I like it here. It's a good community. Beulah says, oh no, I do not stream. Too shy. That's okay. Streaming is not for everybody. But you are around a lot in other people's streams, so hello. And we're all grateful for that. Stephen Booth says, maybe try with no camera and no microphone to stream. That is a possibility too. You could just draw and have some music going. If you were interested. You don't have to though. Okay, so we're gonna layer this fabric. Just like that. Actually, let's add one more loop in there. Marry you, I need my little bubble. My little... that little guy. Can erase. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. We'll curl this piece of fabric in a little bit. know in the chat in real life. He does a lot of photo work. He's very good. So be sure if you are interested in that to go check that out. We will link Matt's Behance as well, just cause. Biola says, I'll just be the watcher. That is okay, Biola. There is nothing wrong with that. Matt says, Sarah, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know Behance had live streams. I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for my friend Jack, who is also a streamer here on Behance, who I'm sure will be around at some point today. Maybe not. She could be busy. I'm not entirely sure. But I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for her. And ever since I discovered it, it has been... It's just been an incredible, wonderful journey, and I very much enjoy it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So we need to continue this cloth up like that. And then we're gonna have a big drapey cloth cut through like this. Dave and I were actually, after Jack's stream last night, we logged in and we were actually fighting this boss. But that fight is so, it's got a lot going on, like so much going on that like, it's very hard to pay attention to how she actually looks. But I did get a better, I found a better screenshot of her boots. I was talking about that yesterday and how, it needs to come more like that. I was having issues finding a screenshot of what her like big pointy shoes look like. Okay, so there's two cloths here that I kind of forgot about. I think we're gonna shorten this one a little bit. So it doesn't get completely cut off by the sword. So I think that needs to come out this way. Add our little bit of shading here, just helps a little bit keep like the layering straight. Same thing here. I think instead of how I drew this, this is gonna start getting layered, oops. Layered a little bit more like that. That looks right. Back in the chat. Stephen Booth is also suggesting to Biola or do a private stream and then you can decide if you want to make a recording available to others. And Biola is saying, now that's not a bad idea. That is also true. You can do that. I've thought about doing that for like tutorial streams for my subscribers, but the subscription is so new. I haven't fully wrapped my head around that yet. So that is a possibility. I was thinking about doing like maybe like a paper craft one where I either like I'll do a stream and people can come to the stream, but it'll be private and for subscribers only. And then like that will be a recording for subscribers later. And then I was thinking about maybe doing it like a non-subscriber one where it's like a craft along kind of thing, or like a color with me, like with the coloring page, like a paper craft along type thing where you wouldn't need the Cricut. I would like design a template for everybody. Anyhow, it's an idea. Ashraffle is in the chat. Hello, Ashraffle. How are you doing today? Haven't seen you in a while. And Jack Watson is in the chat now. Jack, I was just talking about you like 10 minutes ago, saying that you were the reason I discovered Behance streaming. There is Jack. Jack is another streamer on Behance here. Jack says, was out and about all morning, but I made it. At least it wasn't snowing today while you were out and about, and it was just raining. I guess. Okay, so we're just gonna... kind of do... Okay, let's... this come out a little bit like that. Oops. Same thing down here. Just add a little shading in here because it's just easier for me to see where like the folds are happening then. Guys can kind of see a little bit more of what she looks like. So now I have the wings. And I've been very unexcited to do these wings. Oh, I forgot about this top part of the fabric. I think we're going to do a new layer for that one. Yes. Okay, so there's my new layer. And now we have this part of the fabric, which is going to overlap with this headpiece a little bit. The wings that kind of come out of her head. It's like the weirdest bunched up piece of fabric. We're gonna actually, let's hide that part of the headpiece so I can have a more clear picture of what I need this to look like. I don't know what person thought of this and thought this was a good idea. I mean, it looks really cool, but... we'll just do something like that. It doesn't need to look like exactly the same, and as I've been saying, it's going to be made out of paper. So I'm probably going to have, once I draw this in Illustrator, I will have the Cricut mark with a very fine point marker where like all of these folds are going to be, if that makes sense. So that way I don't have to like do guesswork and redraw it. So all of this fabric is going to be layered on her head. So her head will be in front, and then it'll be the wings, and on top of the wings will be that really weird piece of bunched up fabric we just drew. Lots of layering. Okay, so on this wing layer, I might also be inclined, because I'm having issues being able to tell the difference in lines. I think we're gonna add a very light little layer of shading on here, just so I can tell what object is what. Do the same over here. Coming back up in the chat, Matt says, just personally, I really enjoy watching art time lapses, and like Stephen Booth said, you could turn them into an Instagram Reels or TikToks and share your art with more people. Yes, that's particularly handy in like Procreate or Fresco. Like I'm using Fresco right now because it automatically records what you're doing. So. And see, Umacorn is asking Jack if Jack found what she was looking for. And then Jack says, yeah, I wanted to go while there was a break in the snow. It was bad here yesterday. It was terrible. And the day before, I think. And Jack said, yes, and just posted it to Instagram. Is it the cart that you were just talking about, Jack? Little cart for your cricket. Okay, let's go ahead and we're gonna take both of these layers, duplicate, undo what I just did. And then we're gonna try to keep these like layered the same. So if I have to go back and like find anything, I know where to find it, if that makes sense. So we're gonna like group things and just keep them the same in general. Over to about there, that looks correct. This is the body. Go ahead and group that. Okay. Getting very complex. Matt says, dear Adobe, I wish Lightroom recorded what you were doing, please. Yeah, that would be handy if, like, honestly, all of the apps had that feature. Jack is also saying, yeah, I really wish Illustrator on the iPad had the built-in time-lapse feature like Fresco. Same. I didn't know it didn't until one day I thought about it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can export that as, like, a time-lapse to add to, like, my sketch time-lapse. And then I went in and I was like, well, that's sad. Guess I know. Let's do a save. Okay, so last thing is the rough outline of the wings. And I think to do those, we're gonna hide all of this and we're gonna bump up the opacity on the background so I can see what I'm doing. We will do a new layer all the way in the back. And then I'm just gonna draw this in this gray, but I actually might turn this into like a darker color since there are so many shapes that are starting to like overlap with each other. And you can see like this wing is pretty complex. It's going to be very hard to mimic in paper. I'm gonna do, oops, why I just started doing that. I'm gonna do the best that I can. Here, this. So it's facing the same way that mine's facing. Anyhow, I'm gonna do the best that I can to capture as much detail as I can. But again, we're gonna be in paper, so it's okay if it just is like, it just needs to resemble what I'm doing basically, if that makes sense. So I will be content if I just get the shape down. Okay, so it looks like here we go into like these feathers coming out here like this. We're just gonna follow the orange line as a guide. And then we can clean up these shapes so they like look more like feathers in Illustrator. I think it'll be easier in there. Kind of looks like this is actually like a separate object. We have like all these weird like little points happening in here, but I don't know if it's necessary that we do that because paper. See, Matt says there is hope. Instagram just recently added the ability to post from the website versus the app. Yes, someone I follow mentioned that, and I ended up posting something from the website because I was like, sometimes it's just a lot of work to do what you're doing on the desktop. Do what you're doing on the desktop, you know, make a screen recording of it, edit that screen recording, or even if it's just like a static piece, find a good way to transfer that to your mobile device without like compressing it and like blowing the resolution or like the quality of it out to like crap, and then posting it on Instagram and having like a loss of quality there. So that is like a nice thing for it to add. Oops. Jack says, oh my god, I love that you can post it in the browser now. Now if they just let you post stories too. Yes. Yes. Okay, so here we seem to have a few little pointed feathers that actually look like wispy feathers. I could explore doing that with the Cricut, and that would just be having it like cut the shape out, and then I would add like little snips to each side and like ruffle those. So that might be something to add there. And then here it looks like these are just very pointed. Just a lot of layers to these wings. Leave it to Final Fantasy, you know. Looks like we have one that kind of like sticks out here like that. We have like a second layer that goes this way. This will be so fun to try and figure out later. All these pieces. So what I'm thinking for this is I think I'm gonna cut out, like the whole wing is gonna be a shape. So I'm probably gonna cut out two big wing shapes that will attach to like her back, obviously. It's the very last layer behind her. And then below that, I will lay all of this out and like group it together and attach it in the Cricut so it will cut in the order it needs to be cut in the shape of the wing. And then I can just pull the pieces out of the mat and layer them how I need to. Hopefully. That is my plan. We'll see. See, Matt was saying, you can do it with stories and videos. Jack says, oh, I only see you create posts. And Matt saying, oh, never mind, videos in general, not stories. I was mistaken. And then they're saying, hopefully soon. One can hope. Like, I know Instagram's supposed to be on the go, like, but it's gotten very big. Okay, so now we have another set, or layer, I should say, of feathers that are very pointed here. Like this. And it looks like all these little blades that she has that like come out of her wings. Because, you know, she has to be super extra and she has to have blades for wings. It looks like that's how, these are formed. So they kind of come out like this. And then we're just gonna leave that like that, and we're gonna rough in the rest of these. Like this. And that's because I'm gonna end up duplicating this shape in Illustrator and altering it. Looks like we need probably a few more of these. We'll do one more, and then it looks like these kind of switch to this downward shape. Those also look like they're way more overlapped, which I can address that in Illustrator too. But for now, this will do. Let's duplicate this, flip it. Okay. Okay, so far that's looking, I mean, it's really complex. It's a lot. It looks like a lot. I think that I'm good to start bringing this into Illustrator. I'm going to export the wings separately from the body because it just adds like a whole lot of clutter. And when I get this into Illustrator, there's no way my brain is gonna want to like figure all of this out. Oh, Odari is here. Hello, Odari. How are you doing today? Oops. Knocking stuff over on my desk. Odari is another streamer here on Behance who also started a subscription. So be sure to go check Odari out. And then we have, is that Corrado? Is that how you pronounce that in the chat? Hello, welcome to my stream. Odari says, hey Sarah, hey everyone. I'm having a busy Sunday lurking and working. And looks great. Thank you very much. And happy busy Sunday, I guess. I'm having a very relaxing Sunday so far. Sundays are mostly my relaxing day. You know, I just realized Fresco changed sizes. Has it been like that the entire stream, or did it just change? Like, why does it do this? I just like looked over at my OBS and like the window is shrunk. Has it been like that the entire stream? I don't know. We're gonna switch to Illustrator anyhow. I'm fed up with Fresco. Okay, so we'll group the wings. We're gonna hide the wings. We're gonna hide this sketch layer so we have a cleaner layer to work with. We're gonna export her like this, just as, ooh, I wonder if we could just send it to Illustrator. I wonder what that'll do. I haven't used that feature yet, so let's give it a try. Let's go on desktop. Illustrator is open. I don't think it did anything. Oh, it says document sent. But is it sent? Let's switch screens. Nope, wrong one. Sorry, everyone. Where does this go after you send it? Does it like save it as a cloud document? I've never used it before. Oops. Okay, well. Let's just send it to the iPad and see what that does first. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, and it saved my layers. Everybody, I'm in love. Okay, we're gonna take it to the desktop though, so I'm just gonna save this. I tried to send it to the desktop and it just didn't do anything, so. Corrado is saying, yes, correct. I pronounced their name correctly. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I love it when I get it right. And Matt says with Lightroom, sometimes you just have to reopen the app. Yeah, sometimes it gets funky. Switching over to regular Illustrator. Why do I feel like this is also... No, that looks okay. Yeah, that looks okay. Sorry, OBS is messing with me today. Anyhow, this kind of imported everything as like a raster layer, which is okay. I can just do some cleanup on this, and really, we can rename these very quickly now. Let me move my iPad out of the way. Make sure that saves. Close all of that. Technology, boys, technology. Ooh. Get my mouse pad out. Okay, so we are in Illustrator now. Adjusting my workspace and not knocking everything over. So our wings. That is sword rough. Body. Just call this crown. Call that cloth back. Wings head, and we'll call this cloth front. Okay. New layer, and we'll call this sketch. And we're just going to move all of that into the sketch layer. Care about the background. And then we can turn this into a template. And we will hide the wings for right now. So we can just work with this front layer. Or this front part. Okay, so we're going to change the artboard size to be 16 by 20 because that is what we are working with. May I have to unhide this. That is the size that I'm working with. It's the piece of foam core that I have. And I want her to hang off of the foam core. So this is basically the point where it gets, the layout gets really nice. See, Matt says it happens sometimes with Photoshop documents for me as well. It happens. I'm not that concerned about it. Okay. So I just made a stroke. I'm gonna offset this, offset path by like 0.5 inch, minus half an inch. Top if I assigned it a stroke. Go to object, expand, and I'm just gonna convert that to a guide. So that's gonna be kind of like my safety margin where I don't really want anything hanging off of the picture, like the frame, past that, except for her wings and like these pieces of cloth. I'll call these guides. I'm gonna assign this a really stupid color like black. Okay. All right, so let's bring in my reference pictures into here. Make another layer. Actually, is this one the better? Okay. No. Oh, yes, okay. I understand, computer. No, that is the wrong one. There's the higher resolution one. Make these a bit smaller. Oh, I never did her boots either. I just got done saying that I found good reference for her boots and then completely forgot about it. It's okay. I will do something about that later. There's our mother crystal. Actually, let's just pop in this one. This one seems like a better choice. I feel like I'm missing this one. I feel like I'm missing a picture and I don't know why. Okay, so there are our reference images. We'll pull those to the bottom so that way I constantly have reference to look at. Oh, hello, Laura. How are you doing today? Laura is another streamer on Behance here with a subscription. Is a link to Laura's Behance profile. Be sure to go check Laura out. Laura is saying, nice, Final Fantasy. Did you use the mirror tool? I did not. I did this in Fresco. We just got done with that part. There is a layer that is hidden because it's too busy to look at right now. So just these wings. That is not what I meant to do. There we go. I just drew this in Fresco. No mirror tool. I copied and I pasted and flipped and stuff, so. My nose is running today, everybody, because it is cold. Okay, so let's get cracking on this. We have to be smart about the way that I layer this and how I separate objects and stuff so that I can maintain the layering in the Cricut software. So everything makes sense and it's layered and it makes sense the way that like I'm gonna end up cutting it out. The other thing that I need to be aware of while I do this is, since this is gonna be a paper craft, I have to make sure that I'm making whole objects behind other objects. So for example, her head here is going to need to be her entire head, so that way I have paper to place her hair on top of. And then her neck is going to need to come up above her head like this, so that way I can make sure that I have something to place her head, like her head needs to have something behind it to place it on. So that's one of like the tough things about this when deciding how to build these. It's like a big puzzle and I like puzzles, so everything's basically going to end up on its own layer instead of like sub layers and things hidden within things, because it's easier for me to pick out, ungroup, and adjust things that way. Let's just make sure that's centered. So I might need to make her head a little bit bigger than it probably should. Look, her head is very narrow. It's very triangular shaped, and that is a result of how she's illustrated. It's just the style that the artists from Final Fantasy work in. So if you look at like this actual drawing of her, you can see that like it maintains that very narrow shape. And I want to make sure that I carry that through, because I think it makes most of the Final Fantasy characters identifiable. Like I said, we need to give her a bubble head, so I know her head looks pretty large right now, to be honest. Sure, that's nice and even. I'm gonna work on the face. Probably not yet. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and work on the face. So the other neat thing that the Cricut can do is you can attach like a pen to it, and the pen will make marks on the paper based on where you have like the objects attached to. So probably a 2. It will make this shape as like an outline. So instead of doing like a line like this, it will, if I like expand this and kind of show you guys, it will make like this for me to fill in. For right now, we will leave it as a line, and I'll do like that kind of cleanup and stuff later. No, let's see if I can, do I not have this installed anymore? I guess I don't. Interesting. There it is. Okay, give me just a second. Okay. You guys can see that. This is just a little reference viewer that will always stay on top of my screen so I can see. I can see her as I go. Sure, this is a 1-point stroke. It is. Actually, we can just keep that as a little half guy. Pull this up a bit. Okay, so then it will be up to me to paint in these eyes, or use alcohol markers to paint in the eyes to make them look a little bit more rounded how they're supposed to, and I will probably smudge up the eyelashes a little bit through here. that over there. Okay. Let's expand those and then... So this is gonna draw the object on like that basically, except it'll look nicer than that. Viola says those lashes, yeah. Let's turn this into... Expand that guy too. Actually, let's, we can start filling this in with some color. So this should come up to more of a point. I'm actually now wondering if maybe I should bring, if I should undo that. And if we should, we'll copy and paste that. Stephen Booth says, I've noticed that all the characters that you draw seem to have totally on fleek lashes and eyeliner. I think that's because when I was little, I used to draw like a ton of anime because I was like, I loved Sailor Moon, I love Pokemon, I love Card Captors. It's Card Captors Sakura, but when I was little, it was called Card Captors. So like that style has just always stuck with me for good or for bad. Kind of like that a little bit better. I think I might take my width tool and I might make this a little bit bigger. And then this part will just smooth out. So normally I would want to go in here and I would want to make like the rim of the eye and like the little tear duct area. That gets, trying to think how I want to word this as I hiccup. That gets super difficult because this space gets so small. So either the Cricut can't cut it out properly, or I have to go in by hand and I have to like do that with like colored pencil by hand. So for the purpose of this, like this digital part, we're just gonna leave that alone. And then I'll decide if I want to like fiddle with that later. Let's object, let's expand that, and then we're gonna combine those. Can release the compound path, get rid of that little white space. See, O'Dari says, I don't play the game, but I own the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie. It's awesome. Yes, that movie was awesome when it came out. The Final Fantasy VII remake is also amazing. Okay, so we're going to duplicate this eye. We're going to scoot this over a little bit. Normally I don't like to duplicate eyes like that because I think it like can get funky. I think we're okay for right now. So I think how I'm going to do her nose is I'm going to take her forehead. It's to be black. Let's bring this down to like a 0.25 so it's a thin line. We want this to be a cute shape still. We don't want this to look bad. Bring this up like this. Okay, so I know that looks a little odd, but again, we have to think in like paper terms. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this object and this object be two separate objects. So if we get rid of the line on this one and we'll get rid of the line on this one, let's just turn this like a little bit of blue. And then if we add like, for example purposes, like a drop shadow like that, it's gonna come up and like come off of her face. And then I can add shading in specific areas around that nose area. So it looks like it's gonna come up like an actual nose will. I don't know if I'm gonna like stick with that idea, but it is an idea for right now for how I'm gonna approach doing that face without like just flat drawing on a nose, if that makes sense. Stephen Booth says definitely for good for my my anime eye comments. Okay, so now the other thing that is a little tip I picked up for Papercraft. She's white, so this is gonna be kind of hard to like she's white, like ghost white. If she was like, just say like, we'll just use blue for right now. So what I need to do is I need to make a duplicate of this, her face. I need to send that to the back. And then I need to make this top portion a compound path. Both of those to the back. And then if we get rid of the stroke on this, because the stroke won't actually be there. Sorry, that was me accidentally clicking something. Basically, the whites of her eyes are going to be made out of a duplicate shape of her head, and then the neck will be like a little tree stump, basically, that's shoved between those two layers of paper, and that help creates a little bit of depth with the face. And it will also help create, you know, when you like do eyes, you always want to have like a shadow like above your eyes up here. So instead of trying to draw all of that in that little teeny area, the two layers will help cast a shadow on the upper eyes up there. So you'll just have like a natural shadow up there. And then if I wanted to go even further, I could line these two up and I could shade in a little bit more of a shadow in there with like some colored pencil or an alcohol marker or any of the above. So let's change both of these back to white. And we are gonna give these, for the moment, until I start putting color in here, we're gonna have just a very small 0.25 line so that way I can see shapes. Stephen Booth says, cool, dropping the knowledge bombs like a boss. I'm trying. I've learned a whole lot over the past year of like doing these paper crafts, so it's just fun to pass on the knowledge. Hide, please. Selection. Okay. So I think we're going to take let's just do this whole shape, but we're going to her eyebrows very much follow that contour, so let's do a 3. If we get rid of that point. Did that not? Did I not save what I was doing? Oh no, I did. I just deleted it. Okay, I've lost my mind. It's fine. Okay, let's expand that. Oh, hello! What you doing? Come say hi to everyone. Come say hi. Sid would like to say hello to everybody. Hello. Yeah, hello everyone. She's very tiny. She's very cute. She says hello. Just coming to say. You'll make trouble, huh? She says yes, I make all the trouble. Thank you. This is my ferret, Sid. Oh, thank you. Okay, bye. She says bye. Stephen Booth is saying, "Aw." Odari says cuteness. Stephen Booth also says noodle love, and Laura says, "Oh, the kiss is so sweet." Yeah, she uh birds are hard. If she wants, like if you scoop her and you like pick her up and she wants down, she will kiss your whole face until you put her down. Or your arms. Either way. Stephen Booth says, "Hi, Sid." Is that a Sid? She is. We thought she was a boy, so she's not. She's actually named after a Final Fantasy character. Fun facts. Umacorn says, "He's so teeny." She is teeny. Um, she's the second biggest one. I think Peanut is. Peanut's only a few months old. I don't even think Peanut's a whole year yet, and Peanut is bigger than her. Okay, let's hide that again. So for the lips, I will probably have the Cricut draw this lip line on. Oops. And then I will brush in, I shouldn't say brush in, I will color in with a colored pencil. Just to have more of like a frown. She's mean mugging us. I need to put a sweatshirt on because it is officially freezing in here right now. I have to go turn the heat up, to be honest. We turned it down yesterday because we turned it up and it got too hot in here because of course. That's the shape builder tool, Sarah. That is probably, yeah, that messed it up. We're just gonna leave that like that for right now. Probably make that a little bit smaller. She doesn't have a very big mouth. Span those, and then we can combine them. Yes. Stephen Booth says, "My niece has been talking about getting a pet for her son, my great nephew. I'm lobbying for a ferret. I think they have similar personalities. Hyper? Are they very hyper and then do they just sleep a lot? Or I should say, is your great nephew very hyper and then sleeps? Because that's a ferret. They have like little bursts of energy. They go crazy for like an hour and then they pass out. Ferrets are very, very, very fun animals. I spoil mine. I have like a massive cage for them. It's ridiculous. I'll post it on my Instagram if anyone's interested. It's huge. The only thing that's tricky about ferrets is they have finicky digestive systems. So you have to make sure that they're on good food, because if they're not on good food, they can get like bladder stones or they can get blockages. And like that's what happened to my ferret Vivi. Is when I first got him, I didn't know like a ton about ferrets, so he was just on like pet store food. And then we switched him to like proper food, but I had already had him for 3 years at that point. And he was on like the proper food for about like a year. And then he got bladder stones really bad from the bad food that he was on, which is just like pet store ferret food that they tell you to get, which is very bad for them. So he ended up having to have surgery, and that was like a solid like $1,500 to have the surgery to have the bladder stones removed. So, downside about ferrets is because they're so long and slinky is they have really weird digestive systems, and they're obligate carnivores, which means they're not supposed to eat like plants, grain, anything like that. They're supposed to eat like lots of high protein based stuff. And that's just, you know. Dave says they also poo wherever they want and get into a bunch of things they're not supposed to. That's not entirely true. So they have designated like litter spots. So like we have like a potty pad that we put down that they go on. And everybody pretty much goes on that potty pad except for Penny because she's deaf and I just don't think she was ever litter trained, and we got her when she was like 3 turning 4. So, I mean, we're very good about like cleaning it up, but that is like a downside is it's constantly like having a puppy, and if the puppy has an accident because like it goes this much off of like the potty pad, you have to clean it up. A lot smaller than a puppy, but that is another downside. Not that I'm not trying to dissuade you at all. I just so you know, that is the thing. Oh, Jerry says, "Oh wow, poor thing." Yeah, it was a rough time. It was a very rough time. Okay, let's just switch this to be like half. And then we are going to bring this way up here like that, because like I said, I need these shapes to be able to like be glued together basically, resting on each other. Kind of curve that in a little bit more elegantly than the way that I drew it. Ah, yes, Dave also says, also don't forget about the risks of adrenal depending on the litter the ferret comes from, on top of the diet they've been on. So ferrets can get insuloma and they can get adrenal disease, and they die pretty much if you don't get an implant, because it's like a blood sugar thing. They lose all their fur. But I mean, this is like any animal basically. Like, it's not just ferrets that can have like problems. Like, you can have a dog and the dog can have like cancer, same with like the cat and everything. Okay, so we're gonna clean up this hand in a minute here. I'm gonna approach the chest area. No, I'm not. We are gonna layer this area. I just was trying to think of a good way to layer it. So she has like this armor that comes over like this chest area, and we're definitely gonna layer that and cut that out separate from the rest of the body, so it looks like she has like clothes actually on. It'll just add a nice like layer of depth. Okay, so let's come in here. We'll try to clean up this area a little bit. See, Stephen Booth says, my brother-in-law has a side business doing pest control for places that can't use poison. Ready supply of rabbits. So, ferrets are obligate carnivores. So, they will eat small rodents and stuff, naturally in the wild. I would love to have my ferrets on raw, and that is something that, like, we are in the very slow process of doing. We were doing really good for a while, and then we just weren't with it. So, at some point in the near future, my ferrets will be on raw, and as my friend Megan likes to say, because she also has ferrets, they will be eating meat milkshakes. It's not actually any milk in it, but it's just, you know, you grind up soupy in a blender to get them to eat properly. Laura says, oh, let's see. Dave says, yeah, I noticed on her model she has like a jumpsuit attire. Yes, it's super weird. It's like, it's her skin, but it's also not her skin. It's like, she is like, from like here up is white. That's like the same color as like this weird like jumpsuit she's wearing, if that makes sense. Laura says, I'm trying to get my cat to go to the bathroom outside. She's outside most of the day, and when she wants to come in, it's because she needs to use the litter box. Our cats are indoor cats, so I have no tips for you on that. They would not make it in the outside world. They'd absolutely not make it in the outside world. The thumb needs to be a separate object here. So we can place it over the sword. And Dave says it's hard to tell where her suit stops and the skin starts. Yes. Like, I was trying to figure that out yesterday while I was looking at it, and I was, like, drawing the different parts of it, and I'm like, well, everything is white and blue on her model and her design, so it's just gonna be what it be. We have Zara in the chat. Zara says, hello, everyone. Please tell me who is alive in Spain or Mexico, and what is a popular profession? I am not entirely sure. I am from the United States. I would recommend just bopping around on Behance, looking through live streams, and trying to figure out, just find artists that you like. Depends on what type of style and what type of art you're into. If you like design, illustration, photo. And Dave is asking if there are other outdoor cats in the neighborhood. That was a hiccup, I apologize. In the neighborhood for Laura. So I think I'm going to do some adjusting on some of her body a little bit. I might choose to stylize certain parts and make like her legs a little bit longer. She especially, like, these are the weird boots that I was talking about. She has like this big weird pointy armored boots that like come up the side and they're like all swirly and stuff. those are gonna have to be simplified because they're like, I don't wish to put myself through that pain and trying to like do that. But I might choose to like stylize her a little bit more, like maybe make the thighs a little bit longer, her torso a little bit longer, stuff like that. Dave is asking because that, or Dave is saying because that could be the reason safe potty areas have possibly been marked by aggressive or scented by cats, dogs, which makes your cat feel unsafe. That's fair. And Sandra is saying, I have 6 of them. They all go out of the house. Sara is asking, is it true that it is difficult to find a job in America? I would say yes right now, especially depending on what profession you are in. I am lucky to have been employed in my profession for the past 5 years. So okay, so now what we're going to do is, it's 3:30 already. We're going to very sloppily rough in some fingers here. And the reason for this is that probably going to end it, you know, let's just go here. So the fingers need to, since the sword is going to be a separate object from, excuse me, from the rest of her, I need to be able to have her fingers overlap the object of the sword. So I have to kind of think in like a 3D space, and instead of just making them lines, they have to be actual shapes. So this will end up being the same color paper that I used for like the base of the hand. The thumb will be over everything. Just like that. I need to join these two, otherwise the Cricut won't cut that area that wasn't joined, and it'll just be like fused with the paper basically. So we'll kind of make the thumb shape like that. Okay. So then I think we can combine so we're gonna make a second shape there. Fill it in white really quick so you guys can see. And then I can draw lines where the fingers go, but this will be basically the hand that's gripping the sword. And then these obviously won't have these black stroke outlines around them. Oh, hello Adobe Live. Welcome. We are working on the vector version of a paper craft that is going to be gigantic. So this is going to be a character made entirely out of paper and mounted on a foam core board. And the character is from my favorite video game series. Umacorn says simulcast, and Stephen Booth said thumbs of live. Yes, we like the thumbs. We like the thumbs. Oh, hi, Ivy. My other ferret is coming to say hello to us. If she comes within the vicinity, I'll scoop her and say she can come say hello to everyone. Okay, so we are going to make this a compound path. And then what we're going to do for the boots is we're going to make the boots. I'm probably going to make one boot and then duplicate it and flip it. So like her body will be a layer, if that makes sense. And then there will be the boot that goes on the back here, that'll be over it. And then the boot that goes in the front over here will go over that. So it'll be like three layers of paper. And that'll allow me to have like a good base to glue the boots onto as well, instead of trying to make like her legs two separate things, two separate objects basically for the paper. So basically Adobe Live, this is just prep and planning and getting all of my shapes and my objects that I can cut out to make a paper craft using a Cricut machine. And we can do all of that planning in vector. Save it out as an SVG and then have the Cricut cut it, and then we can work in a traditional paper space. Okay, so like I said, we can make this, but we can't make it a compound path. We have to finish the body first. So let's do that, because that would be a good idea. Save this really quick. I got about roughly 20 minutes left. Omacorn is laughing at the thumbs up live thing. I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed it, Stephen Booth. Okay, so I think we're gonna take this area here and we're going to copy that like that. Let's group this for a second. We can combine that area. Go ahead and just that will be our base to put the head onto. see here that there is, like if I fill this white for just a second, you can see that there's this head back here, and then there will be a head in front. And the only thing that we might have to be careful about for that is, let's remove those 2 points. We have to make sure that it clears the eyes. So if we take this, let's just make this blue. We have to make sure that this the shape that we've made, it clears the eyes so that it's not interfering with the eyeballs. And then, you know, we can probably just add like a big weird shape up here, like a square like that. And we can merge those. And just kind of bring it out like that so it's very stable. It doesn't need to line up perfectly, it's okay if it doesn't. But then this will allow me to have like a good area for like some glue to be placed on for like the sandwiched head shape. Oh, Gareth, no. Gareth says my wife still hasn't opened the box on her Cricut. It keeps tempting me every time I pass it. I would just take it. Just take it and run. Make something. I would. That's just my opinion anyhow. Okay, so let's get rid of this. We can get rid of that line I just made on accident. And then sorry, my mouse just got like funky. Mind me, just fat fingering all of the keys over here. Ooh, Laura says, I'll be back. Gonna pick up a monitor. Getting yourself a new monitor, I hope. That's always the best. Dave just got one. He's very excited about his. Viola says, don't do it, Gareth. So I can come in here with a colored pencil then too, and I can like add like creases on these fingers. So that way they don't look like, they're kind of cat paw-y right now. Because they don't like come all the way down. But for the purposes of this, we're going to leave them as is. like I might do this thumb separate so it kind of stands out a little bit. Just do that as a separate shape. For this, we can go ahead and relax this area a bit. Actually, we could probably let's just take this thumb. Come in here and we can take probably these 2 points. I know that looks really goofy right now, but okay, cool. Going on about 10 minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, let me know. You still have to do all the shapes for like the inside areas for like her bodysuit and that stuff. We can make this a compound path now. Arranged and back. Okay, so let's break this apart a little bit. Do head back. And that's going to be this whole shape. Still blue, you can see. Doesn't need to stay blue. We can actually make that white now. The body on a layer. Okay, so the body's on a layer. We can probably put we'll just put the fingers on their own layer above the body. That should stay on this. Oh. Okay, so now everything's on its own layer. Not a fan of how thick her neck was looking. That's a bit better. Let's make sure that is symmetrical-ish. That seems pretty good. Now the only thing that I'm concerned about is the wrist should relatively line up. That's about even. This is what's not necessarily even. Okay, that's a bit better. Get rid of our extra guides there. Doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but we're getting there. Let's make a new layer, and we're gonna call this hair, but the hair is also going to need to be split into objects. So basically the way the hair is going to work is there's going to be this top section that's like all of this area, and then there's gonna be these two pieces that tuck underneath that. So let's start with those two little tucked in pieces. Let's just continue this all the way over there. I actually might be inclined. I'm going to take my tablet out. I'm going to grab the pencil tool. Knock my entire coffee cup over too. Sorry, that music just caught me off guard. This is a stream safe playlist that is just looping. And this one is called Friend Traditions, and I have to tell you, the beginning of it kind of sounded like the Persona theme. If anyone knows what Persona is. Just adjust this a bit. Okay, so then let's actually see if we can my thought process is getting there, I promise. We're gonna duplicate this, isolate it. gonna make that a piece, and then we're gonna make, duplicate that again. So don't really have a whole lot of hair, so I'm trying to get like creative with it. So this will be 3 different layers now in paper. I hope. Okay. Perfect. Just bring that up there. Bring this up there. Can join. Bring this up. Join those. And then we can join this guy too. So these will be 3 separate pieces of paper, and I'll probably draw some like hair strands in here. This one should be on top. You guys can kind of see the direction that I'm going with that. So let's group that. We can move that out of the way. Smooth this out a little bit more. Then we can add this little like curly piece in here. And then we can do like that. And then so she's not mirroring directly with the hair. On this side, we can kind of do something like this where this just swoops out a little bit more. And then we can add all the detail and stuff onto the paper with like color pencil and so on. Alcohol markers. I know that looks pretty goofy as is right now, but rid of that point. Oh, we're going on 4 o'clock. I didn't even notice. I got so lost in what I was doing. Okay, so on that note, we have some pretty good white lumps put together today for this paper craft. The end result of this is going to be, like I said, it's going to be made out of paper, so it's going to be a giant paper craft. I'm going to work on kind of like doing some more detail and stuff in here, kind of like stylizing some of this anatomy now that I have it in Illustrator, or I should say like the shape of her body. And we will get the rest of the detail on there. I will be working on this on stream from start to finish. So it will be literally from this vector part, I did the sketch yesterday, to the actual construction and like gluing everything of paper. I'll show like the cutting process on stream. So if you're interested in all of that, give me a like, give me a follow so you can see when I go live. I'm pretty good about announcing on social media when I go live as well. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who joined me today. Sandra says it looks fantastic. Thank you. I mean, it looks like white lumps right now, but it's looking pretty good. I mean, pretty good. So, I will be back next weekend, same time, same place to work on this, provided nothing life-wise gets in the way. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who joined my stream today and was chatting and talking and journeying along with this process. Ashraful, Biola, Bliss, Corrado, Dave, thanks for modding from the other room, Gareth, Jack, Laura, Matt was here for a little while. I know Matt in real life. Odari, Sandra, Stephen Booth, Umacorn, Zara, you were asking some good questions. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next weekend. Bye!